guys, it's Spiffy Guy here, and I'm back with another quick video about gear and what gear does. I recently read an article talking about filters and how filters lose their effectiveness to purify the water over the course of their life. And in this particular article, they were talking about the Sawyer filter, which is one that I use, and it will filter out 99.9% of all bad stuff, with the exception of viruses, depending upon which filter you have. I don't believe the Sawyer Mini does viruses, but we don't really have a whole lot of viruses in North America, so that's not entirely my concern. But it was talking over the course of a couple of years, they noticed that even with back flushing, the effectiveness had gone down to like 85%. And it got me thinking, well, that kind of sucks. You know, they're cheap at 25 bucks, so in theory you could buy one, every year or every couple years and replace the one that you had. So it's not a huge loss, but really the only 100% effective way to purify your water is to boil it. This is recommendations from the CDC here in the US, and which is why many folks, such as Uncle Dave at the Pathfinder School, recommend carrying a stainless steel water bottle to boil your water in. This particular one is a Guyot design water bottle. This is a 38-ounce one. It is the flat bottom as opposed to the tapered backpacker version. And I've put a little bail mod on there myself and replaced the original cap, which eventually leaked, with this thing called a cap. They're pretty cool. You should check them out. But my question was, if I was to boil my water, what is, an effective way to do that? Obviously, I think if you were out in the woods, you'd want to use wood. That would be the easiest thing to do. But many times you can't use wood. So how do my man-made stoves stack up in boiling 38 ounces of water? So that's what we're going to do on this, is a little test. It's kind of quasi-scientific at best. But I'm going to use my Esbit stove, and I'm going to boil water this up with my Esbit stove. And I'm also going to use a alcohol stove, Trangia. So let's head out in the garage and we're going to boil some water. Okay guys, I'm out here in the garage. We're going to do this test, and you can see that it is raining out there. It's currently 53 degrees. So I don't think that one single Esbit tablet is going to boil the 38 ounces of water in my Guyot bottle. So I have two of them lined up there side by side. I'm hoping that that works. If I stack them this high, then the top tablet's going to be right on the bottom of the bottle, because the bottle just kind of sits right there, and you can actually see that it's almost resting on the tablet itself. So I'm going to try them side by side. I'm worried that I'm going to lose too much goop off the bottom on the sides. We'll see what happens, but we'll go ahead and do this. And I'm just going to put a lid. This is from my nesting cup that I would use, and we'll just set that up on top there, and we'll use that to help the boil. So let's see how long it takes to boil 38 ounces of water, which is at 70 degrees right now. I used a little meat thermometer. It shows 70 degrees in the water itself. So we'll see what temp we get. About 18 minutes, we're starting to get a little lid rattling. What I did is I burned the first tablet for 10 minutes, and then I quickly pulled it off, put a second one on, because I was worried about the tablets turning to goo and then dripping off the tray. So if you were to do this with two tablets, you might want a bigger tray. But we're definitely getting some bubbles in there. I don't know if you guys can see that. There's a few bubbles coming up. It's not quite to a rolling boil yet. Okay, we've hit the 20-minute mark, and for the most part, it looks like the Esbit has burned down. It's kind of smoking heavy. So let's see what we got here. We got a lot of steam coming out of there, and on the little meat thermometer here, which is not the most scientific thing in the world, we're at just about 200 degrees. Keep in mind it's kind of cold out here, 53. but I did get bubbles in there. I did get a few larger ones to come up, and it is definitely very hot. So I would assume that it's pretty darn close to reaching boil. And that was 2 tablets at about 20 minutes. So you can see the last remnants of the Esbit. Now, if you look at the bottom of my pot, which I don't know if you guys can see that, there's a lot of residue on there. That is one of the problems with Esbit. So we'll empty that out, let it cool down, and then we'll try the trusty Trangia and see how long the alcohol works. Now, if I was to do this on a regular basis, I would make a better windscreen scenario, so it would trap a little bit more of the heat, kind of like what a caldera cone is. So this is just testing with what I have. Alright guys, so here's the setup that we're doing here. Once again, same water bottle. We're going to put the top up on top. Water is about 70 degrees right now. I let the bottle cool off. I cleaned off the bottom as well. You know, just a little soap and water, that Esbit residue comes right off. So for the Trangia, this is just a standard Trangia. I think this is called the Windstar kit. I forget what it is. You can buy this on Amazon. It comes with the little holder here that kind of acts as a pot stand. And then for the windscreen, I'm just using a little bit of tin foil. That's kind of what I had set up with this particular kit. It works real well, and it's super light. The bottle does fit on there. It's a little tight, but you know, you just kind of got to position it on there, and it'll fit. It's a little precarious. This is designed for a little bit wider pot, obviously. But we'll go ahead and fire this up and see how long it'll run. Okay, just to add in here that the Trangia holds about 3 ounces worth of fuel, so we'll go ahead and run that until we get a good boil or we run out of fuel. The Trangia runs pretty long. It's a fairly fuel efficient stove. They're pretty neat. They're a little heavy with the brass, and they come with a little simmer ring, but we're just going to go full bore on it. We'll see what we get. Okay, 10 minutes. We're at about 120 degrees. See, the nice thing about using this foil is I can conform it to the shape of the pot that I'm using. So therefore I can get a little bit tighter seal. Now, I think that the Trangia should get it to a boil. It's just going to take a lot longer. I think the BTU output of alcohol is lower than Esbit. I don't know. This is not scientific. This is garage-tific is what it is. So we're just going to keep letting it go. But I got a pretty decent bloom on it, so hopefully it'll get to a boil. Okay, at 21 minutes, we're just about at I would say probably about 190 degrees. You can kind of see in there that we are getting some bubbles popping up. So I guess it kind of depends on how hefty of a rolling boil you want to get. But we're definitely at about kind of the same time frame. Now at this point in time, the Esbit had petered out, but there's a lot more fuel in the alcohol stove. So we'll let it go a few minutes and see if we get a full rolling boil, and then we'll see how much fuel is left. Okay, at 23 minutes I pulled it off the burner. It was kind of bubbling up and a little over the top, and this is filled all the way up to the brim, keep in mind. And so we're right here at what is that, like 200 degrees? So you know, how accurate my water or my meat thermometer is in water, I don't know, but it definitely got rolling and it was boiling over the top. So I put the simmer ring on there, and so let's take a look here. You can see that the fluid was filled up to about here, and now it's right about here. So we burned up, I would say maybe an ounce of fuel. I don't know. I would have to do a little bit more scientific test on that to see as far as the total amount that was burned off. But and the Trangia is a very slow burning stove, and it may not be considered one of the most efficient. So you may get better options with another type of alcohol stove. But so I'm saying about 20 minutes or so to use man-made fuel to boil 38-ounce water bottle. This Guyot design water bottle full of water at about 70 degrees. So is that better than wood? I would assume. I see people get fires. You know, the 5-minute fires or 5-minute water boil, I believe, is one of the challenges for the Pathfinder school. I have not done it in the past. I'll have to give it a try. I think that utilizing a wood stove, you know, like an amber lit or some sort of nimble will, I don't know if that would change the boil time for a wood fire. It'd be interesting to see, because in some places you just can't use a fire. You know, you just can't drop a bunch of wood on the ground and burn it up just to boil up 1 liter of water. So anyway, there you go. There is the a little test here, and you can see I got a little bail on there, some split rings, and a little fishing leader, and some picture wire. It works really well, and it just wraps around there. Always stays on the bottle. All right, guys. So there's the results of my little experiment that I had in my mind, seeing how the Esbit would stack up against the alcohol stove and if it would actually boil this water. Obviously, I think the alcohol stove did a little bit better. It definitely got it to a full rolling boil. It took a couple minutes longer at about 23 minutes. You know, and if you were going to stop for lunch or something like that, you know, and you know, you could boil it up, but that definitely would put a crimp on your hiking if every time you ran out of water you had to stop and, you know, spend 23 minutes to boil water. There is the, as I mentioned, I think the Pathfinder school has the 5-minute water boil challenge. That is something I will have to try, but that will be another video. So until the next one, just remember that life's an adventure. Go out and have one, and boil your water.